Alrighty, hello everybody, and welcome to the next installation of Game RT's Learn and Play series. I am Rebecca Strang. I'm the current Game RT president, and I'm a children's librarian at Naperville Public Library in the western suburbs of Chicago. Today, I will be here for introductions and tech support. This event is being recorded. The recording will be available to Game RT members for 6 months before becoming publicly available on the Game RT website. We are also live streaming this session to Twitch, so hello to any of you out there on Twitch. The Twitch video on demand will be accessible after that 6-month members only period. And if you're not following Game RT on Twitch already, please give us a follow so we can build up that channel. We'll be sharing some links in the Zoom chat soon. For anybody not previously familiar with Game RT, we are the Games and Gaming Roundtable of the American Library Association. Our mission is to promote gaming in libraries, whether it's programming, collection development, community building, prototyping, playtesting, or research. Game RT has 2 professional development series, a webinar series and a learn and play series. These events usually alternate each month. This month, we have today's Learn and Play session on Jackbox, and soon I'll be handing this over to the presenters for that topic. But first, I want to let you know about some of our upcoming events. If we can go to the next slide, please. So later today, in fact, we will have a second event that we're streaming on Twitch. Ninth Level Games is going to join us to share their upcoming game, Venture Society, and talk about how it can be used in libraries. Venture Society is a non-violent TTRPG that helps kids learn social emotional learning skills. And in October, we're going to have a webinar called Going Solo. It's all about solo analog gaming and its benefits. There will also be a discussion on how you can bring solo TTRPGs into your library. And then we're also getting our regular Twitch schedule going. So every week on Friday or Saturday, we'll have something on Twitch, whether it's live gameplay or roundtable discussions. And then we're also gearing up for International Games Month, which is November. So you can register your library for a chance to win games from our sponsors and let us know about all the fun gaming programs that you're running in November. And for anybody who's looking for information on running RPGs in libraries, we have a Game RT RPG Guild where you can get experience playing and running RPGs, and I'll have some links for that in the chat in a moment. And then if you can go to the next slide, please, Perry. We also have a super fun event that we're really excited about. It's coming up in October on Friday, October 21st. Game RT is partnering with the Graphic Novels and Comics Roundtable and the Film and Media Roundtable to put on a day-long event full of roundtable chats, a film screening, live gameplay, and a dramatic reading of Boom Comics' Hollow graphic novel, which we're super excited about. So put that on your calendar and look for a more updated schedule of that day's events later. But now for today's presentation, we have Perri Moreno, Kyera Shea, and Jessica Spears here to talk to you all about Jackbox. Perri is a reference and instruction librarian that is part of the first-year experience team at the University of Idaho Library. She's a part of a local board game group that meets weekly and is the chair of her library's board game committee for a small but growing collection of games. When she's not encouraging students to attend the library's monthly game event, she is coordinating with departments on campus to bring game events to them. Currently, she's probably trying not to stab herself with the needles from her cross-stitch projects. Kyera Shea is the Circulation and Technical Services Librarian at the Rogers Free Library. She loves video and board games, so of course her favorite program to host at the library is Game Night. You'll probably find her in the library encouraging patrons to check out items from her library's circulating board game, video game, or comics collection. Currently, she's probably trying to teach her puppy Ollie to play video games with her, which sounds super adorable. And Jessica Spears is a young adult librarian at the Brooklyn Public Library. She loves board games, but professionally sets up and runs a lot of video game programming of one sort or another. She has a small, around 350 titles collection of circulating board games and runs some of the video game programs once or twice a week. She currently is probably playing Spirit Island and eating pie. So thank you all for presenting for us today. I'm going to hand things over to all of you.
So today we're going to do our Learn and Play on Jackbox games. Jackbox is a company that makes party games from competitive trivia to creative ventures where you invent new words. These games can usually be played with as little as 2 players, although most of them work better with large groups. The rules to all the games are also very simple. So here are some of our basics tips for you guys. So as the host, the main action of the game happens on the host device. Thus, as the library and host, you will screen share, but players use their own devices to input answers and make choices. What do the players need? They need a phone, computer, or tablet to be their controller, and up to 8 people can play, sometimes more. All of the Jackbox games are rated T for teen, although many of the games have a family-friendly mode that can be turned on in the settings, which brings it closer to an E10 plus rating. And just remember, only one person in your group needs to own the Jackbox product in order to host the game, the library. So how to play. As the host, you want to start the game on your device and use the screen sharing option so that players you're on the call with or Zoom can see the game. Everyone can play along on their own mobile devices by using a browser and going to jackbox.tv, then inputting the 4-letter room code and their name. If you're playing remotely, there are some games that require players to lie and bluff their way out of a situation. So having the option for players to turn their cameras on is beneficial so they can see each other's faces. It's also nice to use microphones because the back and forth between players, jokes, and laughter over answers helps to create a fun party atmosphere. Zoom, Google Meet, and Discord are perfect platforms to host Jackbox game nights. We wanted to also give you some tips and tricks. So if you're having issues with game audio overpowering voices while you're streaming your game, it's best to turn down the game audio in the settings menu. I know I personally have to do that a lot during my game nights. If you're having difficulty getting out of full screen mode to get back into your software, go to the game settings and turn off full screen mode. What's helpful when you're playing with other people is that there's a VIP player feature. So the first person that joins the game is the VIP player, and they control when the game starts. You can also change a setting so that you can start it with only the controller. So you have control over when each of your games starts. And then if people are taking longer or need longer to make up their answers, you can turn on extended timers.
Shoo. Perri, you're muted.
I was sneezing and forgot to unmute myself. All right. So what is a party pack? Every year since 2014, Jackbox releases a collection of games that are grouped together in what they call a Jackbox party pack. In each pack, you'll find 5 games that can accommodate players between 1 and 8 players. There are currently 8 party packs out there, but party pack number 9 is coming out in November. Jackbox Games makes a variety of games designed to appeal to a wide array of different interests within the same pack. Drawing games, trivia games, writing games, hidden identity games, nobody gets left behind. You can also buy a few games individually or in bundles of packs. For instance, party packs 1 through 3 are in a trilogy bundle, and there's also a quad bundle of packs 1 through 4 and a quint bundle of 1 through 5. These are just a few of the party packs. Most recent party packs will be highlighting a couple of these games individually later on in the presentation. So platforms. The Jackbox packs are released on a variety of digital platforms. If you've played video games before, you likely already have a preferred platform. You can run Jackbox games on desktop PCs and laptops through platforms like Steam, consoles like Nintendo Switch, Xbox One, PlayStation 4, or even streaming devices like Apple TV or Amazon Fire. You can see a list of compatible platforms on the screen, but you can also visit the game pages on the Jackbox website. All the compatible platforms are listed there and are linked to the corresponding store pages. Jackbox games are a one-time purchase. There's no pay-to-play or downloadable content models. When you own a Jackbox games, you can play it as much as you want for the rest of your life. So the platform that the 3 of us use for our games is Steam. Steam is a digital distribution platform and storefront. The storefront is available through a browser, but to access the content you've purchased, you'll need to download Steam onto your computer. You can see a screenshot of Steam on the page. You purchase the games, Jackbox and a world of others on the store tab and access the games you've purchased on the library tab. You'll then need to download the games you want onto your computer. If you can make it out on the screen, a couple of titles on the left that are in white are the ones that are downloaded. The grayed out ones haven't been downloaded yet. If you time it right, there will often be sales on Steams. Those can range from 10% to 90% off. Note, if you're a Steam fan, you could skip the video conferencing step of playing Jackbox virtually and use the Steam remote play together. It allows you to share your games online with friends, and only one person will need to own Jackbox, and up to 4 players can play.
All right. So a lot of the times you'll see something that says audience on Jackbox games. So most of the games, as we said, has a minimum and a maximum number of players. Usually it taps out around 8, but it can be up to like 30. If you have more players than the maximum, then some of the players can go into what's called the audience. The audience can usually vote on answers, but the amount that a player can do is dependent on the game. One of the things that I love about the game Trivia Murder Party 2 is that the audience can beat all the players and win the entire game. The original intended audience for these games is adults, but Jackbox has put in place controls on the content to make the games more family friendly with each year. The monitoring options have gotten more sophisticated too as it goes on. So Pack 1, the games are simply rated PG across the board, and every year since, the games have also included a rating that varies. Pack 2 began the use of family-friendly filter in the settings that you can turn on or off. These are absolutely wonderful because instead of censoring the content, they censor the questions. In Pack 2, you can turn on or off family friendly for the entire pack. Starting in Pack 3, you can turn on filtering for each game rather than the entire pack. Pack 7 introduced profanity filtering of different levels that you can set in the start of a game. This will stop players from cursing. At low and moderate, it will stop you from using the word with its correct spelling. So if you use 2 N's, it'll go straight through, but you can set that even louder, more strict. Moderation is the other option started in Pack 7. One player is sent the answers for approval before the answers go into the game to be displayed for everyone. So note that with both moderation and profanity filters, you don't get extra time. You just have to write really quickly. Manual censoring is something that you have to investigate if you're streaming. All right. So these are some new and upcoming amazing things. The party starter pack seems like it's a pretty good deal. It includes TKO and 2 of our all-time favorites, Trivia Murder Party 2 and Quiplash 3. They're highly recommended games. Pack 9 will be coming out sometime later this fall. It includes a version of Fibbage, one of our all-time favorites, a team-based trivia game, a bidding game, a role-playing game, and some game that involves drawing. Now, we're going to go over some of our favorite games. Kyera, Perri, and I all deal with different audiences. Kyera games with adults, Perri with her coworkers, and I do mostly teen programming. So we'll each talk about 3 or 4 of our favorite games and why they work for one audience or another. First up is Kyera.
So the adults that attend most of my library game nights enjoy switching between games where they can be creative, like writing dictionary entries or raps, and those that test their knowledge, either of each other or the world. It helps to break up the games that are played, what is expected of players, and always keeps people engaged. So the first two games that we picked are the ones that let you be creative. Dictionarium is a game where you're given never before seen words and it's your job to define them. The definition with the most votes wins, and then you'll come up with a synonym and use the word in the sentence. By the end of the game, you've collectively created an entirely new dictionary entry, which will be forever enshrined in the Dictionarium. We've come up with some pretty fun words when we play this game. And then Mad vs. City, you get to write creatively and then listen to robots rap your rhymes. You can cheer and boo for your fellow competitors, and at stake are mountains of cash and the respect of whatever is left of Mad vs. City when you're done. These are more like trivia, whether it's about the people you're playing with or actual trivia questions. So in role models, you and your friends or the other players become guinea pigs for a mad scientist studying human nature. Just choose a category that match each of the players, including yourself, to a role within that category. The host awards you with science pellets for voting with the majority and for winning tiebreaker games. But the real payoff is seeing your final master role, made up of all of the previous roles that you've earned, and you might end up being called something like Lazy Electric Patriot. In the Wheel of Enormous Proportions, you play a game with this giant wheel, as you can see on the screen, who just craves the company of tiny humans for trivia and casino-esque hijinks. This is a contest of trivia, wheel spinning chance, and random mini games.
All right, so it's my turn. So outside of a couple of games that I play with, I've run for student groups across the campus at my university, the main group that I end up playing with are my colleagues. We got Jackbox during COVID when we needed a remote alternative to our winter all-employee party. And we've played the games at all our seasonal parties since. And I've actually used them to facilitate a more than 30-person team building event also. When it comes to employees, they tend to like the low effort games where you don't need to pay constant attention to them. Typically, those are the games where you do something and then you vote on the results. So the first up, we've got bracketeering. In bracketeering, players submit answers to bizarre questions and categories like best thing to hold in your online dating profile or coolest person to clone an army of. Those answers then duke it out in a tournament style instant elimination bracket until the championship answer is crowned. You can get through it not only by putting in funny answers, but by predicting the winners of future matchups and convincing others to agree with you. The final round is the blind round, where players submit entries before they know the true title of the bracket. The game might ask you for any animal, but you could regret choosing baby hedgehog when the category is revealed to be awesomest animal to guard your children. Whether your answer fits perfectly or is hilariously mischosen, you can still win in with all the savvy predictions and convincing arguments, even if it means betting against yourself. And then another one they also like is TKO. In TKO, players start out creating drawings and writing as many slogans as possible. Then all the pictures and slogans are shuffled to the other players at random. Whoever combines their drawing and slogans to create the best t-shirt wins, as designs are pitted against each other in head-to-head battles. The t-shirts with the highest votes in each round must survive the gauntlet to become the best TKO. Get it? And then that brings us to the final game that works really well with the employees. It's a personal favorite of mine, and it works well with large groups. So it's Guesspionage. In Guesspionage, a rotating player makes a guess between 0 and 100% based on the prompts. Then the other players wager whether the correct percentage is higher or lower than the guess. The player who guessed gets the points for how close they were to the truth, and the other players get points for guessing over and under correctly. And everyone gets to enjoy a good chuckle about how weird we are as a species. If you're playing with a small group, the correct answers are based on the highly scientific Jackbox polling data that they've baked into the game. What makes this a great game for large groups is if there are 5 or more people in the audience, each audience member gets to answer the poll question in real time, and their answers are what determines the correct percentage. What percentage of your group puts ketchup on their hot dogs, you'll find out. The game is also great for large groups because even though there are only up to 8 active players at a time, there's a running scoreboard that allows you to compare how participants do across games. It also requires no moderation of user-generated content. There's also a dolphin spy in it.
All right, so I'm Jessica, and I'm going to talk about some teen favorites. So mostly dealing with teens is the same as with adults. They like doing the same thing that they have already done a lot. But most of the teens won't or can't turn on their mics, and that's really fine. Some don't have mics. One of my regulars has a brother who takes violin lessons in the same room during the program. It's totally cool, but a lot of the Jackbox games require mics to work, such as Talking Points and Patently Stupid. Some of the game packs provide canned answers, meant that for those players that can't think of a good answer, you can just hit lie for me and fibbage, or quip for me and quiplash. These can be really great if you can't think of anything, but it does mean that occasionally when the teens are tired out, they'll just do nothing but canned answers. Even when the content controls are in place, so I always turn on family friendly, always, I have to lay down the rules, and that is keep your answers PC. Cannibalism and poop jokes are fine, nothing too sexy, and no curses. This is a particular concern whenever you're running a game in which you can write in answers, such as quiplash. So these are some of the favorites. So Devil in the Details is one of the only partially co-op games made by Jackbox. The players have to work together to defeat challenges. One player has the instructions and another has the controls to defeat the challenge. You also work against the entire family by causing chaos, which might be why these teens like it, to express their rebellious side. Champed Up is a drawing game with a twist. You pit your character against each other. The kids love this because you can be like the worst artist in the world, but if you name it correctly and it's a funny drawing that you end up with, you can just win. So the next is Survive the Internet. Players make funny combinations of an original post, of comments on the post. I feel like this taps into the kids' anger and also glee at the stupidness of the internet comment section. In Push the Button, one or two of the players are aliens and take out the whole team. Again, they seem to really enjoy semi-co-op games. It seems like there will be at least one cooperative game in Jackbox Party Pack 9, which I'm stoked about. All right, there were some games that we all across the board thought were absolutely wonderful. So we're going to talk about those games a little bit, and then we're going to play them. Yay.
So the first one I wanted to talk about was Trivia Murder Party. This trivia game is hosted by a serial killer, and he requires players to answer trivia questions, and answering incorrectly will send you to the killing floor. You'll have to play mini games that can also kill you. And the goal is to see if you can make it out of the murder hotel alive. One of the cool things at the end of it is all of the dead players are ghosts, and you can compete to steal the body of the last living player to see if you can make it out instead of them. The other one is Fibbage. This gives you the joyful task of fooling the other players with clever lies. Players submit their best truths to fill in the blank in a piece of obscure trivia. Everyone then votes on which truth they think is the correct answer, and you can win points for having thumbs up. You can rely on the lie for me button, like was mentioned before, if you're stumped for an answer, and you earn points for picking the correct answer as well as fooling other players.
The other two that we all found that all our groups really liked is Drawful. In Drawful, each player receives a weird and unique prompt that they must then draw on their device without the aid of an eraser. After each artist presents the work, everyone else anonymously submits a title that could fit this bizarre drawing. The goal in it is to somehow find the correct prompt while fooling other players into selecting the decoy answer that the players submitted. Bonus points are awarded to those who submitted decoys that are usually especially clever or dumb. It's usually the dumb ones. And then the other one everybody liked is Quiplash. Quiplash has had several iterations in different party packs. In Quiplash, there are no rules or correct answers. It's a trust your gut and type in your response type game. The answers that are submitted will be pitted against another players in a head-to-head battle. Other players and even an audience of up to 10,000 people then vote on their favorite answer. It's that simple. Well, the game accommodates 3 to 8 players. Participants in the audience have the ability to affect the vote. More than 8 people in your party, nobody has to sit out. Want to include all those mannequins you have in your basement? Sorry, can't help you with those for this game. So now it's time for questions. Anybody have questions about Jackbox? And then after questions, we'll get into the playing.
I don't know. Do they put up their hands? Because they're all muted.
I will unmute them in a moment. All right, people can now unmute themselves on Zoom to ask questions.
Maybe nobody has questions. Somebody have a question so we don't feel silly.
How many participants do you usually get for these events? I mean, what's the most they've gotten?
I'll go first, if that's okay. So I just do teen programs. So it has been during the depths of the pandemic when Brooklyn Public Library was not running much and there wasn't much that you could do. I got close-ish to the 16 person limit, and somewhere around there. But since then, it's like some weeks I run it, and there was one very sad week where it was me and another guy, which was lovely and awkward. So it's definitely gone down as the pandemic has kind of cooled off.
And working with employees, I'm guessing that's not the intended audience you're going for. We can get up to 20 people at the gathering, but typically like 6 to 10 will stick around and do the games.
There is a question from Molly Porter
Kyera,
afterwards.
does Kyera want to
go?
I'll say, I mean, so I do them during game night, and when people show up, I just say, hey, what do you want to do? So sometimes it's Jackbox, sometimes it's other things, sometimes people will play, but it's usually, 4 to 8 people will play a game at the same time.
So Molly asks, if I only had a budget for one party pack, which one should I get? I'm working with teens. I would totally recommend that party starter pack. TKO, Trivia Murder Party 2, and Quiplash 3. I mean, yeah. And it's on sale right now on Steam anyway.
Yeah, I would, Steam does annual sales. They do a summer sale and a winter sale. And in those, they can get more than a half price. So if you have time to wait, I would keep an eye out for those sales, and you could get possibly 2 party packs for the equivalent of a full price of one.
Mm-hmm. They have those trilogy packs and the quad packs too that are a lot cheaper. You get a lot.
We have another question in the chat. Do you have any Twitch or YouTube channels that you recommend where we may see Jackbox games in action and we may not get to see here today? Oh, looks like Jessica shared a Twitch directory that looks to lead to Jackbox party packs.
Danielle shared a YouTube channel that she recommends. Polygon. Yes, they are so funny. Do the Polygon.
And I always, before I play with a group, I'll watch some YouTube videos or on people playing it to figure out if it works well for the type of group I'm working with. So yes, definitely watch them ahead of time. And Danielle also mentions Jackbox has videos where they play with their development team.
Which would be awesome.
Yeah, I'll
Um,
say to address the chat, I also bought all of the packs on Humble Bundle at one point, and it didn't cost that much. It was basically the cost of one pack, and I got 1 through 7 and some of the older trivia games.
Yeah. God, I was going to say something I forgot. One thing to recommend though is as the game's gone on, not only has the number of active players gone up, but the monitoring has gone up, and just the sophistication of the controls that you have running the games has also gone up. So if you are kind of looking for, like, if you were going to get one of the trilogy packs, I would go for the second trilogy pack rather than the first one, because 1, 2, and 3 are a little bit like, they're great games, but they are also, in general, they have smaller player counts and a little less monitoring.
Are there any advantages to joining games from different kinds of devices?
We have, we have mostly done it on Steam, correct? I was going to do it on the PS4 and I totally forgot to do that, but I'm going to do it.
I think they mean computer versus phone versus tablet as a player. So I will say, like, when I host, a lot of the times I will also play with the players. So I put my iPad in front of me and I play on that. And if you're switching between like drawing games and typing games, sometimes it gets a little wonky doing that, but it's also a lot easier to draw on a tablet than it is with your mouse on a computer screen. So it kind of depends on what games you're playing.
I agree with that. I think we have a lot of people that join on their phones just because that's what they've got when they play. And it is easier to draw, but like the keyboard on a phone is just kind of tiny. And then you've got games like Trivia Murder Party where you have to do a bunch of math on a tiny keyboard, or you have to type out a sentence as he says it on a tiny keyboard.
Yes.
And that can get really challenging on a phone. So in that case, a computer might be better, but for the most part, I think phones are fine.
Mm-hmm.
You can also open it in a separate browser. So
if your screen is big enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have one problem where my phone will not load the entirety of the screen for a Trivia Murder Party game. So if you hide in the bottom right corner, I cannot. I can't get to you. And there's a couple of other games that have that issue, but in general, it's totally good. I play on my phone.
Yeah. It's really whatever device they have, they're all workable. And some work better for some games and not for others.
Oh, we don't want to disincentivize somebody for buying it on Switch. Oh, I've just not tried it on Switch. It might be totally bug-free in every way.
I think you can use a keyboard that you can connect to your Switch for the games that require typing too. I have not done that personally, but I know friends who have done that setup.
So how would you do the drawing games?
The drawing game, I have no clue. But the keyboard, you can at least, I know that it's possible to hook up a keyboard.
Obviously, it's a possible because I wouldn't have released it if the games weren't possible. But
yeah, I wonder if they redid the game so it's Switch friendly.
I mean, the Switch does have a touch screen, so if you're playing like just one person, you may be able to just use the screen that way.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, do some research. It would be really interesting.
I've only ever used Steam to do it, so it would be worth finding out.
And even if you bought the games on Switch, other people could still join from their own devices. So like their phone or their tablet, they wouldn't all have to play on the Switch. You would just use that as the facilitator.
Right. As a facilitator, you wouldn't be able to draw on stuff because your Switch is the one hosting.
But you could still join on your own.
Yeah,
phone.
you would have to be on a separate device.
Oh yeah, that would work. That would totally work. Yeah. Boom, we solved the problem.
without actually knowing if it's a problem or not.
It's just if you want to play by yourself on your Switch in bed at night, that might be a problem.
Any other questions? All right. If there aren't any other questions, we'll go into the play part of things. We've got it set up so there's breakout rooms, and you're welcome to join any of the breakout rooms. In the breakout rooms, you'll work with one of us to decide which game you're going to play. It'll be one of the ones that we've advertised as working for everybody, everybody had fun with, and you can we'll select from that pool.
And for anybody who's watching on Twitch, if you'd like to join the play session, I'm going to put a link in the Twitch chat right now because we will be turning off the live stream on Twitch. So if you'd like to play, click the link in the Twitch chat and you can join us here on Zoom. But I will end our Twitch broadcast now. So thank you for joining us on Twitch today, folks.